Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about success and about the little things and about the streaks. Now, in a previous video, depending on when I'll post these, maybe the previous video, we talked a little bit about the hits that you get in. Another big misconception that people have, this is especially true for New Year's resolutions, and we'll get into that in a second, is that they have to be perfect, that it's the streak that matters. And a lot of successful people, a lot of high performers will also tell you that, every day counts. And if you miss a day, it's like missing a week. If you miss 3 days, it's like missing a month's worth of work. But that's mainly to get you motivated. Now, there's some truth in that, but of course, it's not a statistic you can really calculate, because who knows how far that puts you back. So there's no real science behind it. It's just something they say. What matters more than any streak is the number of hits that you get in. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video, like I said, but the New Year's resolutions are a fantastic example of this. People always come into New Year's resolutions at the end of the year saying, this year, every day, I'll do this and that. I'll work out every day for an hour, or I'll work harder, or I'll stay longer at my job, or I'll be more loving, or whatever it is. How many of you are still on your resolutions? How many of you are still perfectly on it? And how many of you have, like me, given up a couple times and restarted? How many of you are still going even though you've not been perfect? At the end of the year, what do you think is better? Having a 90-day streak, first 3 months maybe, and then giving up because the streak was broken one day, or having, let's say, 180 days, half the year done, but 30 days at a time, or 10 days at a time, or very randomly, but having 180 days in there. I think the 180 days makes more of a difference, because you're not going to be amazing at this. Many people think that once they set their mind to it, they're just going to be perfect at it. But if you, for example, never worked out consistently before in your life, then you're not going to go from 0 to 100 in a day. It's not going to happen. You're going to be inconsistent. But that is okay. You're not supposed to be perfect. That's not where you set this resolution anyway. That's not where you set this goal. You set this goal to be more fit. It doesn't matter whether you're perfectly on point every single day. What matters is how often you do it. Total. Not how often you do it in a row. So give yourself a little bit of a break. Because no matter whether that's with the relationship, or whether it's with your workout, or whether it's with your work, it doesn't matter how often in a row you do it. Of course, the more days in a row you do it, the better. But if you quit because of one mistake, then it's better not to focus on the streak at all, and instead do it whenever you have the chance. Do it whenever it's in your mind, whenever you remember to do it. Go outside right now if you remember, hey, you wanted to do this workout. If you had a resolution, restart it today. Right? Remember, you're not always going to be aware of it. Sometimes you just forget. And it's such a shame to stop it entirely because you forget or you make one mistake. That's really rough. Imagine that being a test in school, right? And one mistake and you fail. That would be almost impossible. You would probably fail through all the classes. I know I would have. I don't think I ever got it perfect. What matters more is that you try. You get as many right answers as you can. You try it as often as possible. And if you keep that in mind, it's just going to reduce the pressure a lot. Restart. Do it whenever you can, because that's what matters in the end. I remember when I first started writing, this was like in 2015, 2014, I believe, something like that. I told myself I would write every single day of the year. All right, 365 posts just to prove to myself that I could do it. Looking back on my WordPress, I think I wrote about 330. So it was like 30 days off. But it didn't matter. I still felt like I had basically proven to myself that I could do it, because I was very consistent. There were some days that were really tough where I still did it. But I didn't fault myself for forgetting it one day, or for being maybe hungover, because I was still in college at that time, and drank a lot more. as we Germans do. It's a stereotype, but slightly true. Anyway, I didn't fault myself for those things. And right now you're faulting yourself for some of these things that you're not supposed to do. You're not perfect. You're a beginner. Treat yourself like a beginner. Make mistakes and keep going anyway. Because at the end of the year, when you look back, you'll be more happy about the days you did do than about that streak. No matter how good the streak is, if you've netted more days without the streak, it's going to feel better to you. Get as many hits in as you can and try to do that with everything possible. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say on that topic. But I think that's it. Yeah, just do what you can. You're gonna get sick. You're gonna be unmotivated some days. Sometimes you just won't want to do it. If you blame yourself for that, you're just gonna feel worse. And if you try to make up for it, which a lot of people try to do, they try to make up for the day before or the year before with their resolutions. If you haven't been able to do it before, how can you possibly do more the next day? That's not how that works. If you haven't been able to do it, you should reduce it and make it easier on yourself so that you can at least do it. Right? If something's too hard for a child, you don't put twice as much on the child for it to make up for it. You make it a little easier for the kid. Because that way it'll actually learn and progress. You're too harsh on yourself right now. This is not a sprint that you're doing. You don't have to do everything all at once. It's a marathon. For a marathon, it doesn't matter how quick you are. What matters is that, you get through it. You're not trying to win the race. You're trying to finish. If you sprint, however, you're going to be so burnt out, you're probably just going to keel over. You have your entire life left. Slow down a little bit. Get as many hits in as you can. Celebrate each win that you can. Celebrate each time you do it, no matter how small it is, even if it's just 5 minutes. Celebrate that. Because you did 5 minutes, not because you could have done more. It's such a bad mindset to have. And just work on it a little bit. There's a story, and I'm going to probably butcher this, but there's a story that I read once about a student who was writing about what the teacher told them once. So this is not my own story. And the teacher basically told them, anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly. If you don't have the energy to take a shower, you at least brush your teeth, or at least you rinse off your armpits and maybe wash your face. If you don't have the energy to go for a full jog, maybe just take a walk around the house. If you don't have the willpower to, be really happy or to do something really loving for your partner, maybe just hug them, or maybe just try to watch something to make you smile a little bit. Because anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly. Do it poorly, because it's better than not doing it at all. And this was me now trying to make the video a little longer, so it does better in the YouTube, but I think that's it. Didn't quite get to the 10 minutes, but that's all right before I start talking too much. I hope this helped. I hope this put it in perspective and maybe gave you a little bit of a, maybe made it a little easier on you. Start up again today. Do it as often as you remember. Count your wins, not your losses. And you'll do much better. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.